For the past year, I would wake up and think to myself, what is the point? I'd wake up always thinking, why should I even get up out of bed today? Nothing I do even matters. And this became a regular routine for me. I'd wake up, start my day, just feel like nothing matters. Always asking myself, what's the point? What on earth am I here for? And my day would just be so empty and unproductive. I wouldn't feel motivated to do my work. I wouldn't feel motivated to create. And I was just literally in a hole for a good year. And I really felt at my lowest point in terms of my self-worth. I just felt like a loser. And I just could not get out of this state. And I was literally thinking something was wrong with me. Like I was thinking that I was depressed. For sure, I know I had some sort of depression, but I didn't go to a doctor to get that diagnosed because I'm gonna make a whole video about that. But anyway, I didn't want to go to the doctor to get diagnosed with depression, and I don't want them to give me a medicine. So finally, I found a podcast. I was just looking up all these podcasts on depression and what to do. And I felt horrible for doing that because I am someone who is always so used to achieving. I'm someone who is so used to being a perfectionist, a type A kind of person. I was always in leadership organizations in high school and college. When I was a nurse for 8 years, I was in the leadership team and I was the president of the unit practice council. And I'm always that person that wants to achieve and do more and to succeed. And then I started my own business, and that's when everything sort of kind of made a turn. But I will say that being in this state of not wanting to do anything, feeling like my life is pointless, feeling like nothing I do matters. Being in that state for an entire year was the hardest time of my life. And I really thought I was broken. I really thought that something was wrong with me, and I didn't really know how to navigate this depression. I was doing Qigong, but even though I was doing Qigong, something just still didn't feel like, something didn't feel right. Sometimes I would do a practice and I'd feel really balanced, and other times I'd do a practice and I still felt so negative. So finally I was looking up all these podcasts and I was looking up things about depression, and then finally I found this podcast called Regulate and Rewire by Amanda Armstrong. And she's the first person who shared this in a way that I never heard. Even though I worked as a psychiatric nurse for 8 years, I never heard anybody frame depression in this way. But what she said was life-changing, and I highly recommend that you listen to her podcast. I'll put a link below in the description. But what she said is that when you're in a depressed state and you're having thoughts like, what's the point? I don't care anymore. You start to isolate yourself. Maybe hanging out with people feels too overwhelming. You start to feel so exhausted that you just want to sleep all the time. You don't start any tasks. You feel like you're procrastinating all the time. That was me for like a whole year. And what Amanda said in her podcast is that when you have those signs of depression, it does not mean that you are broken or that something's wrong with you. What it means is that you have a nervous system that's imbalanced. And I'll share it briefly here to keep this video short. But basically, what that means is all of us has a nervous system that helps to protect us. And you already know this if you've ever been late to work, if you've ever been angry by something that somebody said to you. Your nervous system has this ability to automatically scan for any threats or any danger, and it will help to get you out of danger as much as it can. So if your nervous system picks up a threat, like as if you're walking down a dark alley and you feel like someone's walking behind you, your nervous system will activate your stress response or your fight or flight response. So you might start to walk faster. You might start to feel sweat pouring down your face. You might start to feel your heart beating faster. And that's a good thing, because in that situation, you want to get out of that dark alley and you want to avoid the danger of somebody potentially mugging you in LA in the middle of the night. And so here's where this becomes a problem. If you're constantly in this fight or flight mode, if you're constantly in this stressed mode, also known as the sympathetic nervous system response, if you're always in this sympathetic fight or flight response, and your body's always on guard and your muscles are always tight, your heart is always racing, you're always uneasy, over time, if you don't know how to handle that and you're not helping your body calm down, you're gonna go into what's known as the dorsal vagal response, also known as a state of shutdown, also known as a state of burnout, or also known as a state of depression. What it looks like is everything we said earlier. You ask yourself, what's the point? Why am I even doing this? I don't care anymore. You start to isolate yourself from others. Doing simple tasks seems really, really, really hard, like taking a shower. I mean, for all you ladies out there, I don't care, even if you're not depressed, taking a shower is a lot of work. And then life just feels heavy. You might be crying a lot. You might just feel numb, and things that were joyous to you before are not enjoyable anymore. And that's not because depression is this life sentence. When I was a nurse in the hospital, I literally remember being told that depression doesn't have a cure. It's kind of like you could have treatments for it. You have to find the right medicine for it, but there's not really like a cure for it. And nobody really knew the cause of depression. Nobody could give me a clear explanation of why people get depressed until I listened to this podcast and I started learning more about polyvagal theory and just about your nervous system going into a state of collapse. And so if you're in this depressed mode, you are not lazy. Most likely, you are a very ambitious person. Most likely, you are a goal-oriented person. Most likely, you work hard. And what happened was that you have this nervous system that was causing your body to be in this fight or flight response for such a long time. You're always go, go, go for such a long time that your nervous system became imbalanced and it got stuck in that fight or flight mode. And now your body wants you to shut down so you could get the rest and recovery that you actually need. When you're depressed, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It only means that it's your body's way of forcing you to shut down and forcing you to rest so you could get the recovery from all those weeks, months, and years of working yourself to the ground without allowing yourself to actually rest. And some of you might be wondering like, oh, I take time to exercise or I go on vacation, but even if you go on vacation, your mind can still be thinking about work. Your mind could still be stressed out by the travel, by the people you're with, by the planning. So just because you're on a vacation doesn't necessarily mean you're actually being able to relax and tell your body that you're safe. Another thing I want to say about this too is that depression isn't only caused by negative thoughts in your mind. It's caused by your body constantly being turned on in survival mode. So some signs that your body might be in survival mode a lot of the time is that your body constantly feels tense. You might feel clenched. You might tend to clench your jaw. You might clench your buttocks without knowing it. You might clench your toes. You might always be unsettled when you rest or relax. You might feel guilty when you try to take a break in the middle of the day, or when you go on vacation, you might feel guilty. Or if you try to meditate, you can't, your mind is racing and it's so challenging for you just to sit still. So those are some signs that you might be in a survival mode, like relaxing feels almost unsafe to you. And so if this is you, the first thing I want to say is you're not alone. This was me for the past year. Even if I was doing practices like Qigong, I was still getting depressed, and I really wanted to understand the why behind that. And I also want to say that just because your nervous system learned to be stuck in a certain state does not mean you're stuck there forever. The beautiful thing about our nervous system and about having a human brain is that we could teach our brain new patterns. We could teach ourselves new habits. We could teach ourselves how to basically change. And I truly believe that nobody is ever fixed in their habits or their personality. I truly believe people can change. Like my dad, who was a longtime smoker for as long as I can remember, ever since my dad was in college, he smoked, and then he smoked throughout throughout all my childhood and throughout high school. He stopped only recently when I was already an adult because he was able to change. He made the decision to change, and he changed. He was also kind of threatened that his life was at stake. However, he still changed. So what I'm saying is, you could teach your nervous system how to find safety again. You could teach your nervous system how to find balance again. And a simple way to start that is literally just by awareness. Just by having awareness of when you're in your survival mode. So the first step is just knowing how survival mode looks like for you, how your fight or flight response looks like for you, whether that's your jaw is clenched. You're noticing your heart's always beating fast. You're noticing that your shoulders are up to your ears, and that it feels really hard to just take a break. It feels like you're not allowed to take a break, like you feel guilty taking breaks. So when you notice those signs, you first have to just be aware of what that looks like for you specifically in your body, what your fight or flight response looks like. And then when you're aware of that, I invite you to try to relax the body and just soften. And I know it sounds a lot easier said than done, but just notice if your shoulders are up to your ears, practice consciously and intentionally bringing them down toward the earth. Practice noticing if you're frustrated and your eyebrows are tensing and your forehead is tense. Try to soften the face and breathe in through the nose. Breathe out slowly through the mouth and soften the body. Something I love about Qigong is that one of the principles of Qigong, one of the main principles that they taught in Qigong for thousands of years, is this concept called Song, which is a Chinese word that's roughly translated to relaxation. They stress and emphasize the importance of training your body to soften, training your muscles to open up and relax. Like if your fist is clenched, you train yourself to open, soften the body, relax the joints, relax the muscles, and breathe in through the nose and breathe out, exhale slowly out through the mouth. So I want to leave you with that for now, just as a quick way to get started with just acknowledging and noticing when you're in fight or flight mode, and also noticing too when you're in that depressed shutdown mode, when you're in that sort of state where you feel like nothing matters, where you feel like what's the point. Just first gain that awareness and notice what it feels like in your body when you're in that state. Just say to yourself, oh, I'm telling myself, what's the point? I'm noticing that I'm isolating more from people. Gain awareness of that first, and then just allow yourself to observe that state without judging yourself. Just have that awareness of, oh, this is how my nervous system's relaxing. This is how my nervous system is trying to make me relax. What do I need to do right now to help me relax? It might mean just having some, like, to literally take a nap. Your body literally wants you to relax. You might just need to take a nap and allow yourself to do that. Or allow yourself to literally, sometimes our body wants to dissociate. Sometimes we want to scroll on our phones. And, you know, I think that's actually okay. As long as you're doing it intentionally and you're mindful of how much you're doing that and why you're doing that. Sometimes we want that dissociation and we want to relax. So let me know in the comments if you've ever struggled with being in survival mode, if you've been struggling with being in that shutdown mode. And I just want to reassure you that you are not alone. You are not lazy. You are not a failure. You are simply in survival mode. And it is not your fault. It is just that your nervous system got stuck there. It stayed stuck there. And the good news is that you can break free and find balance. I'll continue to make more videos about this moving forward, but let me know in the comments what your own experience is like, what helps you, what signs that you're in a fight or flight response or in a shutdown mode, and I'll see you in the next video.